Reaction so far, yes, but we suspect that as we get into the earnings call and start listening to the commentary, the sentiment will be driven more by the strategic changes that the new CEO likely will announce, more sort of a color on the second half uncertainty, rather than the 1Q, 2Q numbers.
I mean, it's going to be messy for a while, right? CEO just got back, or got into the spot. It's been a busy week. Like, I was kind of floored the last 3 days. Intel's up about 14%, right? Getting rid of some things and kind of trying to figure out its way forward. It's going to be, do we give the CEO some allowance to kind of reset Intel's future here?
I mean, you have to, given the short time he's been in his seat. To his credit, though, he has been, what I think folks really like is his decisiveness and the speed which he's taking actions, whether it's exiting the non-core assets like the Altera deal, whether it's cutting costs both on the OPEX and the CAPEX side, as we are seeing on the wire, and taking the key product, the AI product segments within his direct command. So I think we see a lot of right steps in the right direction so far. Of course, it's not going to be easy, especially as they're faced with the uncertainty from tariffs, from U.S.-China trade relationship. Remember, China is still a huge portion of the market for this company. So he will have to navigate the near-term macro, but so far what we have seen from him is positive.
How much do they get in terms of business from China? Just so that we remember those numbers.
I don't have the exact stat. It has to be somewhere between 30 to 40%, top of my mind.
Wow.
Which is, again, significant because if you still think of Intel, it's still the dominant share in PCs, right? Their key business segment, which drove the beat for the 1Q numbers that we just saw.
I'm wondering about this headcount reduction because earlier this week, we saw news that they were set to make cuts by about 20%. Now we're learning that the company doesn't have an estimate for the one-time expense associated with the cuts, but it expects operating costs to be reduced to about $17 billion this year and $16 billion in 2026. When we spoke to Ian King about this earlier this week, Kunjani basically said Intel has a lot of employees for its sales. Like if you look at competitors, if you look at like NVIDIA, for example, they have on a proportional basis. Intel has many more employees. Is 20% the right way to think about this? Or in your view, does it have to be higher?
I think the magnitude of the percentage is not that a direct correlation rather than the areas that he's focusing on,
okay.
Which is he's going after, again, non-core teams, eliminating bureaucracy by eliminating layers of management, which was a big struggle with the old Intel because decisions just took a lot longer. I mean, we have seen him making those decisions, which you could argue could have been made last year, right? The Altera exit has been dragging along for a while. These cost cutting in these other non-con programs, you could have done that sooner. So I think going after the right cuts is more important just than the magnitude of the cut.
All right, so it's the first conference call for the relatively new CEO, Lip-Bu Tan. What is it that do you think he needs to answer? What are the questions that must be answered when it comes to Intel?
I'm sure he'll get a lot of question again on the miss on the guide and the second half outlook, as we have seen analysts ask in all the earnings calls so far. But more important, I think, will be beyond that, the questions around status of Panther Lake, right, and how 18A is doing. Commentary around now that we have heard from TSMC that there is sort of no deal as of right now between TSMC and Intel. Are there any potential JV with its customers that is possible, or how does he think in that direction? And it's sort of roadmap for foundry business going forward. Remember, next week they are going to have a big foundry event, so he might hold off sharing some of that answering some of that foundry related questions to next week, which we would like to hear this week.